It's a tacky hole-in-the-wall diner. It's the kind of place with a gritty exterior and such delicious food that it makes you wonder if the cook had some tragic backstory as a standout in culinary school who got mixed up in crime so he can't get a job in the expensive resort where he otherwise deserves to be working. I find myself dining there late one night amidst the clashing interior design decisions and the delectable morsels that get served in styrofoam dishes, whether you're dining in or ordering takeout. My teeth are sinking into a steamy Philly cheesesteak when I notice someone familiar walking through the door. I've long cautioned people about rushing into the field of education with rose tinted glasses strapped to their faces, naively diving into a profession that requires over 4 years of education, pays well below the starting salary for most jobs with that requirement, and which about half of the people who try within their first 3 years quit. It's fair to say I haven't done enough explaining as to why anyone should become a teacher, when at best society tends to write it off as a noble, underpaid profession, and at worst it labels teachers as lazy, underachieving burdens on the very population they sacrifice themselves to uplift. So why the hell should anyone aspire to battle through a broken or at least obsolete education system, willingly make far less than others with the same education, and endure constant criticism from a society that couldn't do the job half as well for twice the pay? When that diner door swings open, I make eye contact with the young man entering, and I'm instantly transported to 4 years earlier. He was a 17-year-old freshman sitting near the back of my classroom on the first day of school. He had been in America for only a few weeks, and he had only 6 weeks of English classes before moving with his family from the Middle East. His older brother, whose English was even less clear, sat behind him. They were both close to graduating in their country, but with no academic paperwork to prove it, the best they could hope for would be to graduate from an American high school at ages 20 and 21. This would require an accelerated track of core courses, including passing state standardized tests in math, history, reading, and writing, while every teacher they had pushed through the content at a steady pace without speaking a word of Arabic. Students like them are called ESL or ELL students, for English as a Second Language or English language learners. They were not the only ELL students in that classroom, and the others didn't speak Arabic either. I have never before nor since that first day felt so completely disarmed in my efforts to reach my students. Our block scheduling meant that we would have opportunities to cover a year's worth of material in one semester of 90-minute blocks, but it also meant that I was expected to have these students reading at a 10th grade level in 18 weeks of instruction. I would break down ninth grade concepts from the curriculum into the most simple, rudimentary level I could, as if speaking to a preschool student, but they often still couldn't understand me, because a preschool student would still have several more years of practicing English than they did. I found myself translating all of my board instructions into Arabic and Spanish to help ease the transition into class. Whatever concept my English native speakers were learning, I would find the most simplistic children's stories and poems or nursery rhymes that I could to teach the same concepts to my ELL students. I would first have to teach them the vocabulary within those stories by learning what it was in their language or showing them pictures when possible, as definitions to a word mean nothing if they're given in a language that you don't speak or understand. I learned a few conversational phrases of their language to greet them and show them that it's okay to struggle with learning something new, and I constantly encouraged them to remain brave and keep studying, that someday they would graduate with more than just a diploma, with the credentials of being bilingual making them even more marketable in the working world than most of their teachers were. This amount of preparation often kept me at the school nearly as long as the night shift custodians. I volunteered to work with my ELL students in small groups on Saturday mornings for a few precious hours without the distractions of other students or the constraints of the curriculum. We focused on basic speaking skills needed to get the more complex concepts of all their classes. These students were enrolled in an ESL class too, but there simply is never enough time in school days when you are pushed to learn at their pace, and their ESL teacher that first year was so awful that she was no longer their teacher the following year. The years were tough for the brothers. Their English skills slowly and steadily developed, but it never seemed to be enough. In 2 short years, they were making their very first attempts at the standardized reading and writing tests. Most students finished these tests in about 2 hours, and these young men and their ELL peers often took 5 to 7 hours just to complete them, and they failed time and time again. I requested to teach and tutor both of them in their same class during their junior year. We watched their test scores slowly climb, but the results remained below passing time and time again. They lost one of their parents over one summer, and by the time their testing gauntlet truly began, both were needed to work for their uncle's business to support themselves. They took turns working late at night. Every day, one of them couldn't keep his head up in class, while the others struggled to take notes for both. They didn't ask for these challenges, but they didn't complain about them either. They managed to break through the language barriers needed, passing the graduation contingent tests for math, science, and history, but those English tests weighed heavily on both of them. There were no accommodations for their disadvantage apart from the provision of an English-Arabic dictionary. If you think that makes it easy or even acceptable, try testing your proficiency of an 11th grade Arabic reading or writing test with nothing but a two-way dictionary and let me know how it goes. Each test took a tremendous amount of their time and effort for both of them, and the burden of consistent defeat weighed heavier after every failure, until finally they broke through. And not long ago, I got to watch both young men walk across a graduation stage and receive their diplomas. Both had become proficient in English reading and writing, and both are now capable of engaging in complex conversations in English and Arabic. Back in the diner, the younger brother looks elated when he sees me, shakes my hand, and hugs me at the same time, expressing his shock that I eat in this place. He informs me he has begun his first semester of college, and that his brother is already doing a line of work for someone other than their uncle. His dark brown eyes that looked hopeless, frightened, and lost 4 autumns ago, depressed, distressed, and defeated 2 winters ago, and overjoyed 2 months ago, now look confident, excited, and prepared. That is why teachers do what they do, and that is what makes it all worth it.